Amy with Fashion Toppings here. I went to the thrift store and got a few sweaters. They weren't 99 cents, but I did get a couple sweaters for $2.99, and they're actually pretty decent sweaters. This is, I have it inside out, but this is actually just a cable knit sweater from the Gap, and it's an extra large. And I'm going to make a few things out of this one sweater. So out of one sweater, I'm going to get mittens, boot toppers, a stocking cap, and a scarf. Let's go ahead and start with this sweater. First thing I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to make the boot toppers. For the boot toppers, what you're going to want to do is measure, put your boots on, try on your boots, and see how much area you have between the knee and the top of your boot, or however high up you want to wear your boot toppers. Now for me, I measured my knee. Untangle this. For me, put this leg right up here. Okay, for me, I measured from the tip of my kneecap, because sometimes if I'm wearing leggings, I might want it up over my knee. So I measured from the top of my kneecap, and I measured down to probably the middle of my calf. So I went down about 9 inches. And so I'm going to want to cut 9 inches from my sweater. Okay, since I'm going to want to use this cuff as the top part of my boot topper, I'm going to start measuring from here. And I'm going to measure up 9 inches. I'm going to measure up 9 inches, and I'm going to make a mark. And I'm going to cut straight across. I'm going to, now, I'm going to lay this down on top of the other sleeve. I have this one laid on top of this one. And I'm going to cut them to be the same. That rough side that I just cut right here, I'm going to take the zigzag stitch and run it along the raw edge that you just cut. Your other side's already done for you because that was the cuff. So now we have our boot toppers, and I'll show you how all this is going to look when we're done. So here's our 2 boot toppers. Let's work on the hat. Okay, I've already kind of sketched mine out. First thing you want to do as far as with the hat, we want to go ahead and measure our head, or the circumference of our head for our hat. So we're going to wrap it around the nape of our neck, right below our neck right there, above our ears, and there. But then we got our measurement for our circumference. Mine is 22 inches. I don't know if that means I have a big head or a little head, I don't know. So then you're going to cut that in half, just by folding it. And that leaves me with 11. Now the thing is you don't want your hat to fit you perfect. You want it kind of snug. So I'm going to, since it's 11, I'm actually going to make I'm going to take an inch off of mine. And that should be enough. And I'm working inside out. So right along the waistband cuff of your sweater, put that measurement down. So I went ahead and put 10 inches across the bottom of my sweater and marked it. There's my 10 inches right there. Then, since it's at 10 inches, it's really easy. What's the center point? Well, the center point's going to be 5. So I went to 5 and made a little mark at my center. So I have a mark at my center so I know how far to measure up for the height of my hat. So now I'm going to take the base of my head to the top of my head, and then I'm going to subtract a little bit because I don't want it to be fluffy. So mine was 9, so I'm going to subtract mine and make it an 8. So I'm just going to subtract an inch just because I want it to fit nice and snug. So I'm measuring up. Okay, you see that? I have 10, made a mark right here. I have 10, cut it in half. I have 5, made that mark, and then I measured up 8 at the halfway point. Okay, so after you've measured your 10 inches this way, 8 inches this way for your height, now take it from the corners, just draw a little arc. You're making the shape of your hat, kind of making the arc on each side similar. Doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm going to cut around it just slightly bigger so that I have a little bit of a seam allowance. So, okay, what we need to do now is now take this to the sewing machine and just sew the two pieces together all along the top. Use a zigzag stitch all along the arc. Leave the bottom open because that's going to be the band that goes around your head. Make sure you leave it open. And you don't have to do any hemming because we use the waistband. And as you can picture, you can roll it and you have a finished waistband as a nice little cuff to your hat as well. Next, I'm going to make my infinity scarf. I'm going to go ahead and cut off the arms first. Okay, now I'm going to want to just simply cut from armpit across to armpit. That's all I need to do. And exactly out at the other armpit. And now I have my little infinity scarf, which I'll take to the sewing machine. Always, always, always when you're cutting out a sweater, put a zigzag stitch along the edge just so that it doesn't fray down the road. So far, out of one sweater that I got from the thrift store, I have a hat, which I have to take to my sewing machine yet and get it finished, which I'm going to do that next. A hat. I have my scarf, which I've got to finish my edges on. I have my boot toppers. They go above my boots. And then I'm going to make mittens out of this leftover material. But then also, which I didn't even think of, I didn't think I'd have enough material for this. Remember when I cut the sleeves off before I made the scarf? Bam! I've got another pair of leg warmers. I have to hem the bottom because they're a little long. And then I also have some leg warmers from the rest of the sleeve. I know it's not a pretty attractive sight right here by doing this. But, so, leg warmers, boot toppers, scarf, hat, and now for the mittens. Okay, so the next thing, mittens. These are really easy. So you're going to take what you have left of the sweater. This is all we have left. We're using every little bit of scrap we've got. So out of this leftover sweater, you're going to trace your hand. Getting my thumb. See, trace the hand so it's the shape of a mitten. Now, I'm going to cut out the first glove. Make sure everything's lined up so everything's straight. Cutting out just a little bit beyond my chalk line to give myself a seam allowance. So, I need to take my my hand that I just cut out right here, and I flip it over to make the other hand. And I'm just going to cut it out. Find material where it fits. And it fits right about here. Okay, and now I'm tracing, or just cutting, out my second glove. So, now I have my mittens. So for the mittens, it's the same way as with the hat. You're going to leave your bottom open, so you can get your hand in there. All you're going to do is zigzag stitch around the border of your gloves. And everything you're doing here, whenever we're doing stitching, we're inside out. Make sure everything, right sides are together. You're looking at the wrong side of the fabric. Mittens, scarf, hat, leg warmers, boot toppers, and now I'm going to make another hat for a friend. So, I mean, how much more can you make out of one sweater? My goodness, this was fun. It was a lot of fun. So, I'm going to go ahead and take pictures, get this all put together for you at the end of the video. And this is Amy with Fashion Toppings, and with the fun project, making 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things from one sweater. Ah, I love it. So, I look forward to doing my next video. Once again, this is Amy with Fashion Toppings. Until next time, you have a great day.